recording is okay. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the training of club presidents. Some of you may have been a club president either unofficially or officially. So if you feel you would like to share any views at any point, please do show. We have 90 minutes. Hopefully nobody will kick us out till we are done with those 90 minutes. So let's make full use of it. I'll try to keep the formal training material less and discussions more, because a lot of clubs have different scenarios which we cannot cover in a training material. So I'll also try to keep it a little generic so that we don't dive into very specific scenarios or specific clubs like corporate clubs or community clubs, because then we'll go into too much details and it might not be relevant to everyone. So this is what we are going to do. I have already been introduced, but I'd like to talk about my president's role. So I played the role of a club president back in 2016. That was officially for TCS Maitri Kolkata Toastmasters Club. And many times unofficially when I was the area director and I did not know how to play the role. So I used to be the club president for all the clubs and help them do the role, which should not be done, but at least I gained some more experience in that process. And as a leader, I think then I took a role as a division director, and it also helped me understand what the role of a president should be. So hopefully I can share those views with all of us as well. I know many of us have been a leader in either personal capacity or professional capacity, and hence let me share a small video which the district recommended for this role. So I'll just share it and then we'll have a small discussion session to understand what you understood from this video. So let me just share my screen. Is the audio there? Are you able to hear the audio?
Can you play for a moment? Yes.
In any career, in any business, if you know how to be a leader, you're going to be successful. Chances are most of you have already been a leader. For example, take a look at this list. I want each of you to stand up. Go ahead, stand up. As I read off these roles, I want you to sit down if you've ever been one of those roles. President, CEO, mentor, older sibling, parent. See, I'm only halfway through the list and most of you are already sitting down. Let's finish the list and I'm sure we'll get to you too. Manager. Team lead. Chief. Captain.
Aye! Avasti, landlubbers!
Okay, have you ever been first in a race? Ever given directions to someone? Oh, I got one. Have you ever been the first to cross the crosswalk? There we go. Have you ever given anyone any advice? Made a suggestion? Done service for someone? Complimented someone? Okay, you know what? That's fine. You haven't been a leader. I'm sure you've seen examples of leaders. Do you have any older siblings? Okay, parents. Okay, have you ever been older than someone?
No.
Okay, that's impossible. How old are you? Have you ever had a teacher? You are a grown man. How have you not had a teacher? You know, hey, me, I'm a teacher. Great. I am your example of a leader. So we all haven't been leaders yet. That's okay. We're here to learn. You may sit. As the great Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu once said, leadership is what separates us from the animals. To be human is to be a leader. If you've never been a leader, you've never really been human, and there's no point to your life. Have you liked that video? Have you commented? Are you subscribed to Studio C? Have you ever watched a Studio C sketch before? Have you watched anything on YouTube? Have you used the internet? How are you alive? Ah!
Okay, guys, so this was the video. And can we have a small round of applause for the artists who played this video? I think it was very funny. But I want to know your views on what it means to be a leader from this particular video. What does it say about being a leader? Anyone wants?
Can I speak?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I personally believe that this video teaches us that, we should not assume that someone knows anything when we are a leader. Like there can be people who do not know anything and we have to treat everybody equally.
That's a unique perspective. Thanks for that. Yes, Pawan.
Yes, a leader is one who guides the people around him or her, who can suggest someone with good suggestion, who can lead the team. Yes, that is from my side.
So I think, yes, IBM B equal Toastmaster Harshal.
Yeah, I think the point of the video was to show that leadership is a possibility and a potential in everyone. It may not be that you yourself have been a leader, but there is a potential and a possibility within you.
I think that is a major message of this video, is that there are lots of different types of leaders. So only the club president is not a leader, but club president is a role that helps you be a leader. So it was somewhat like the lady who was giving the talk is like the club president who guides you and makes you believe that, okay, there's leadership in you and there's some way you can find out those skills. And the other part that Asta just said, that you can have a person who is not sure about anything. So you have to guide them in the right path. So both ways, the leadership is an important role and we have to work towards that. So now let me share my screen and let me start the presentation. And we will walk through the basics of club leadership and then we will get into some case studies so that we are more sure of what we want to do. So first and foremost, we have to understand these three things. What is our role? What are our responsibilities? And what are the resources that are here to help us? So all of these things together will comprise of our training. And we will get to know the details of the responsibilities to an extent. But rather, I'll leave it as an open question on how the responsibilities are to be interpreted, how your role is to be interpreted, and what are the resources and how you can use them. So because there are lots of things that you have to figure out yourself, maybe after the training while you're doing the role. And that's why it's an experiential role. So I'm going to give you the hints or the leads that you're going to start off with. So any views from anyone in this room, you can unmute and tell me, because I can't see the chat or your faces because of the screen share. Just unmute and tell me, what do you think the role of the president is? Just the role.
I think the president is like the club president is like the CEO of the club, and he is actually to oversee all the other EC officers and guide them and make sure that objectives of the club, the area is met.
That's correct. That's correct. And you've hit the nail on the head, Toastmaster Soma, that you're there to oversee the functional and administrational activities of the club, and your role is to be the CEO and oversee all those functionalities. So both those points are to be noted. Everyone, please understand this is what we have to do. We do not have to do the basic roles unless they are required. They are necessary and the other person is not able to, but the first and foremost task is for us to oversee and try to oversee as much as possible. Empower other people. That is our role. It's not to do the other people's work. So empower, that's the keyword. And then we go for the responsibilities. Now, responsibilities I'll not take views because there are lots of them. I won't say lots, but there are lots of different types of them. And you have to understand those different categories while we go through the slides. And the resources also I'll share at the end. So this is what we are going to do. We are going to identify your role, which you have already done. We have to see how we can fulfill our responsibilities and find the resources that can help us. So before I dive into the responsibilities, let me solidify the meaning of the role a little bit more. So this is a case study that I have taken from an actual event which has happened in one of the clubs that I know of. So this case study is that your club hosted an event after which a club member who bought the cold drinks says he lost the receipt for the purchase. The treasurer insists that he will not reimburse the expense without a valid receipt. You as the president, what can you do? I mean, let's have a discussion on the different possibilities of our action. What are the possible actions from the club president? The first and most obvious action, I mean, the easiest one to do, what is that?
I think
sponsor the drink.
Sorry, let's the gentleman speak first, and then I think I heard a lady as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Ruddra, this is Rahul from KYTC.
Yeah, Rahul, hi.
The first thing that could be done in this situation is that, of course, the person selling those cold drinks is not going to give you a receipt for 50-60 rupees. So what we can do is, once the member gets those cold drinks, we can, we know the price of all the cold drinks, so we can just add the price and give it back to the member. We don't need the receipt for that, because, of course, no one is going to give you receipt for $100 or something. So we can just know the MRP of the product and we can give it back.
Yeah, I think that makes this easier problem. So let me put the scenario as in the event has already happened. It's been 1 week and there were lots of cold drinks, maybe 10 bottles that have been bought. So it's a sizable amount, 600, 700 rupees that are like the person is wanting to claim. So I think your point is valid. It's a very intelligent way you took the turn and found out the calculations. So I really like that. But for the sake of this problem, let's assume that the event has happened and there's no way to find out the actual cost. Yes, someone else I think took a go at it. Is it Vibha or someone else?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, I'm also here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Vibha, you go ahead. Yeah.
I can suggest that if the person has paid by any credit card or debit card, there must be some messages. So get a track of it so that we can get the proof as well.
So let's not go into the detectives. The detective role here. Let's think about. I think your point is taken, but rather look at the functional aspect. So if we assume, like I said, there's no way of understanding or assuming the actual cost. So I've put that constraint. So in that case, what do we do? So I think there was someone from XISS.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Who was
Yeah.
answering? Yes, please.
Yeah, so even if there's no way to track down what was the cost, so I think we can go to the shopkeeper and then maybe ask him what was the cost, and then he might as well give us the receipt.
So I just said there's no way to track down the cost. So there's no way to determine the actual amount.
I think that at some point we need to trust each other. And the very fact
that's one way to do it. So let me put it in a more guided scenario. So let me give you one scenario where the president does nothing. So what do you think will happen if the president, the treasurer and the member comes to you for a grievance and you do not respond or you do not take care of this grievance? What happens? What do you think will happen? Madhuparna, you have raised your hand. Do you want to have a go at it?
Yes, Ruddra, I think I'm just confused with the answer, but I think two ways is there. One, if I'm going to ask for the receipt, if the members is telling that there is no chance of proof is there, and if I'm if I'm going to one thing I can do that we can pay from our end or my end, president's end, because we have to trust our members. And on the other hand, if we're not giving the reimburse the money, you have, that means you have to believe your EC members also, that the treasurer. So the both scenario is either you have to go with the
Yeah, but if
treasurer.
you are trusting the treasurer and the member and you're paying from your pocket every
Yes.
time there's a conflict, that might cause an
Yes,
issue with your
because
finances.
leadership, because as far as I understand, that you cannot always please everybody in your role.
Yeah, but you're trying to appease everybody by not letting the treasurer pay and you're paying from your own pocket. So in that case,
Either way you can.
thanks, Madhuparna. That is a point taken, that sometimes you have to take a small expense. But I would request others to also explore other places
One thing,
where you don't have to pay.
Ruddra, one thing we can also do, we must have a budget for all the programs which what we either it must be a celebration or it must be an event. So there must be a budget that EC can decide prior to the program.
Let me, that's, so sorry, yes, continue, please finish. So budget, from the budget we'll pay, is it what you're suggesting? From the treasurer's fund?
Since we must have a budget that the program will go around so much so on.
Yeah, so that budget is there and the treasurer says it's within the budget, but I won't reimburse without a receipt. So let me ask you first, is it easy for us to find out why the treasurer is not reimbursing without a receipt? Why does the treasurer have those views in them? So that's a simple question, as in, why are you not reimbursing? Do you not trust the person, or do you feel the money is not accountable, or there's no account of that money? Why that is? Suppose the treasurer says there are two reasons for it. Like I said, the treasurer may not trust the person. The treasurer might want a complete account. So what do you think can be a reaction for the first part? That is, the treasurer does not trust the person. They may say they have forged the amount and it's not the actual amount being spent. What do you think can be our reaction for the first part?
Prove it, no?
We'll ask the treasurer to prove it, that they are not, they don't.
Yeah, I mean, why are you not trusting? Because see, if you have this kind of thought in the EC, that is very detrimental, and that needs to be addressed very, very quickly. And everyone needs to be in the same page, that you're working towards a goal. So if there is a mistrust amongst the EC members, then there's something fundamentally wrong, and you as the president would need to think, put things right. That there are kacha bills which you can get from a kirana shop if you're taking up 10 bottles. So there has to be a middle path. The treasurer is right that he needs a receipt, he needs to account it, it needs to go in the books. So there has to be a middle path, and you at times would become the mediator between two people who have conflict. So you might not get a printed receipt, but then you can get a kacha bill saying that these many bottles were purchased and this is the amount.
So the mediation you'd request is to get the kacha bill from the retailer, is it?
Yeah, I mean, if that's the middle
part.
I
mean, that's just a constraint I'd put, is that you can't get anything from the retailer anymore. That is something that we have. So maybe what do you feel can be an option?
Then it would be that you would have to, even everyone was there in that, that function, and you have seen that bottles were consumed, but you don't know the exact number because it was a big event. So it could be 10, 12, 15. And, there's a difference of $500 between 5 bottles, say, for example.
Yeah.
So, that's where the trust factor comes in, that, you would need to, say that, let's go by, if the person who's bought it has said that I have bought 14 bottles, I think I would go by that.
So you'd, as a president, vouch for the member or the person who's bought the cold drink, and you would issue a receipt or a declaration or a writing, an understanding that I feel that this is the amount that has been spent.
The amount, and I would get it from the person in mail, that this is in an Excel sheet maybe, that this is the expense which was incurred.
I think that takes care of both the trust factor as well as the accounting factor. So the treasurer can account for it as well as the trust the president, and the president trusts the other person. So I think that way it is done. And now just a small extension to this problem is that, what if you find out instances where the person has been dishonest, or you feel it has been in the past, and but you have already vouched for that person. So in that case, how do you deal with that scenario in future? That's maybe some first question for someone else also. Thanks, Somo, that's a very valid point. Anyone else who'd want to take a view on that part? What do you feel?
Excuse me, Rudra, can you please come again?
Yeah, my question is that, of course, like Toastmaster Somo, like he said, he is already vouched for that person and this account is closed. But later he finds out that he's been dishonest in other aspects as well. Some people have said that is borrowed money or bought things, not paid for them. The things about financials that he's not very comfortable with this member. What do you feel should happen going forward?
See, first of all, can I?
Yeah.
See, first of all, we are the evidence who have enjoyed the drink. Secondly,
small understanding of what we can do to avoid such instances.
What we can do. Yeah, for that we have to get a track of all the expenses. That is the foremost thing. Secondly, in case if we are not getting, this is the learning, for future, so that we can avoid such type of hurdles.
Expenses in future, that is, ask people that no receipt, no payment or something like
that.
That's
why when I was I was attending offline meetings, that time we were just buying things from WH Smith, Reliance Fresh, such types of departmental stores.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Vishwaraj, wait, I think Deepak raised his hand first. So Deepak, your views?
Yeah, actually my view is that such kind of incident is a very small issue, so we should not make it a very big, and we should resolve such kind of issue immediately, as to avoid such kind of issues in the future. Then we can make a process among the executive members, that whenever
I think you're right. Biba has already said that you make sure that people have receipt, either kacha, pakka, whatever, get it from the retailer, signed and approved. Vishwaraj,
for an immediate resolution, what I would do is I would immediately call for a regrouping of my EC and talk to them about this problem and see who are the volunteers who can come up and pay along with me. If everybody is ready, we'll share. If even 4 are ready, we'll share them on the board, so that this is an example before the member and the treasurer, that in future, so that they learn from me that, okay, if I do not have a receipt, then the president will pay, and that is not a good thing, that every time the president comes and pays. So the what to say, the enlightenment will,
I think that is in a very drastic scenario where the treasurer is hell-bent on not paying without a receipt. But I think that way it's okay. I mean, if the president has already vouched for the person and already given to the treasurer might pay because they've already got a receipt. So I think both ways work. Your view also is there. So I think most of it is covered here. So we covered a few things. First is that we, being the mediator, have to look at the bigger picture and find out why the policies are there in place. The receipt is there in place for accounting and to prevent dishonesty. Also, if someone is, you're vouching for that person, you are expecting the person to be honest in past and in future. If the person is not honest, you'd want to involve them less where financial matters are involved. Maybe they can involve them in other situations or other areas, and then see what they are doing. If they're violating the Toastmasters code of conduct and they're not handling the finances well, then you take similar actions. But unless you have proof, you can always move them around and see what they're doing. So there are two things here. First is the member interactions and the finances. So this is just a case study to understand what we can do in that in our roles. So now let me just share my screen again, and this time I'll go to the more detailed responsibilities so that we understand what we do in a meeting. So we have 3 very separate roles, so 4 separate, so very separate responsibilities. Before the club meetings, arriving at the club meetings, what do we do? During the club meetings, what do we do? And then outside of the club meetings, that is, how do you use the use it in the executive committee, or use our responsibilities in the executive committee. So before the club meetings, this is important. Please note that we ask the vice president education if there are any awards to be announced. Somebody's completed a level 1, level 2, and we keep that in our mind so that we can acknowledge them in the meeting. When we start the meeting or when we end the meeting, the business portion of the meeting is where we are going to acknowledge them. Also, if there are new members, so I would request all of us to plan a new member induction. Whatever you want to do, you want to ask them to take the Toastmasters oath, you want to give them a 1 minute time to speak, you want to give them a pin or a new member's manual or something like that, or you want to have a ceremonial logging into Pathways for the first time. Whatever you want to do, you just plan it with your executive committee and vice president education. Have a small 2-3 minute, 5 minutes ceremony for a new member that makes them feel very special. And the second part is the planning the business portion of the meeting. Now, I feel the business portion of the meeting is the least used feature of a club president's role, but it is the most powerful one if we plan it well. Anybody knows what the business portion is before I just go into this material? Anybody can, 1 or 2 people tell me what is the business portion?
We inform all the members on what major decision executive committee has to make. For example, if there is some financial decision to be made, it has to be voted in by all the members. So we propose to the members that, okay, so the club is planning on, for example, the club is planning on conducting international speech contest on XY on so and so date. How many of us are in favor of it? If not, then there can be a discussion and a new date can be discussed upon, and a motion can be passed. And we need the quorum to be filled, which we need a full quorum wherein we need a particular number of members to be present in the meeting.
Okay, thanks, Gayatri. I think you described the entire business portion for me, so a lot of my work is saved. But good answer there. I would say in the one line summary, because I'm giving 1-line summaries because you will not remember everything after this training. But business portion is a portion or the section of the meeting where you involve members in decisions where members are required. So not everything requires members. Like I just gave an example of the finances between the treasurer and the president. What do? You do the decisions, primary decisions by yourself. You take the receipts, you vouch for the member, and you see what things are happening. And still, if the member persists and the problems keep on going and it escalates, then you call in for a member meeting in the business portion. But first and foremost, you try to resolve by yourself. So business portion is things where members are heavily involved. Suppose things like Gayatri said, planning the international speech contest, or it could be using a significant portion of the club finances. It could be changing the session timings or the venue if it is a physical meeting. These are the business portion of the meeting. And review the parliamentary procedure. Now, this is something that the general evaluator always takes care, but you can take care and revise it once if it is a special arrangement. Suppose it's a special meeting where you can have people coming in and going out. So if the sergeant is going to sit near the door and ensure it doesn't happen, how do you handle the parliamentary procedures in that section? So the major important things I want to talk about, the first 2 points. Ask about special recognition, do member inductions, plan the business portion of the meeting. Anybody can tell me why it is important to recognize and do member inductions? Very quickly, just 1 or 2 lines. Anybody can tell me.
To retain the members.
Sorry?
To retain the members.
To retain, yes. To improve the morale.
To improve the morale and encourage the new members for joining.
Yeah. I think it improves the morale. It helps the person feel involved. Induction especially, because the person does not know anybody in the club. But when somebody is called up on stage, they're speaking and other people are applauding on video and clapping, that makes it a much better atmosphere for the person to be more comfortable. Now, when we arrive at the club meetings, this is something that it's done beforehand as well. Like the agenda is reviewed between the VP Education and the president when it is posted on the groups or shared across email, so that you can do before as well. But when you arrive, definitely if there are any changes, you can talk to the VP Education and do those. Because though it is the VP Education's responsibility to ensure that the meeting goes well, it is your responsibility that the club thrives. And the club cannot thrive if the meeting agenda is not in order. And it might be that someday the VP Education is not available or attentive, or they're distracted for some reason. So you are the second guard. You are the person who's looking over everything. So look at the meeting agenda once, see if all the role players are there. And suppose the session starts at 3 and it's 2:55 and 3 of the major role players are not there. The general evaluator is not there, suppose, and the speaker is not there, and the speech evaluator is not there. So at that point, you cannot be on mute, or you cannot stay and wait for them to join. You should ask the VP Education what the condition is, where they are currently. And I think all of you are doing it already. It's just a small reminder to be more proactive in understanding where the meeting agenda is and how it is progressing. Greet the guests and members. Now, this is again led by the sergeant-at-arms, but it always feels good if the president comes and shakes their hand and reminds them that, okay, it's a meeting, have fun. We are all starting at the same location and we all want to learn and grow. So this is what greeting the guests and members means. During the club meetings, these things you have seen many times. I won't go into much detail, but calling the meeting to order is important. I declare the meeting open. If you have the gavel, use that gavel to declare the meeting open. Introduce the guests, take their introductions, engage with them, conduct the business portion of the meeting, and provide information for the next meeting. Now, provide information for the next meeting is apparent. It's easy. Like when you are going to have your next meeting next Saturday or next Sunday, next Friday, and the timing so that people can join again. And the business portion of the meeting, how do you conduct it? I want to take a little time to talk about that. So Gayatri has given some details on it, but let me talk about that in general, what you want to do. So things like you are planning a new event, you are discussing the club budget, you are presenting the club finances, or you are handling a decision or a conflict or something that involves the club members. Like you're changing the session timings, you are wanting to change an executive committee officer, which happens rarely, but it can happen. So what do you do when the decision should be unanimous? So basically you start off with assuming that it could be a unanimous decision where you feel that the session timing is not appropriate, so we want the session to start at a different time. So this might be a topic for discussion. So when you have a topic for discussion, you pass a motion, like I said, you pass a motion. Somebody can second it if it's already been discussed in the executive committee. If somebody can second it, and then the major thing happens. So proposing, seconding, these are all official things, but the main thing is that you can invite discussions. Generally, in the Roberts Rules of Order, there are lots of things mentioned, but I'll give you a very simplistic view. What I do is I generally invite people to speak for the motion, people to speak against the motion, whoever want to speak. So you have equal number. So if your 2 people are speaking for the motion, 2 people are speaking against the motion, you take them alternately, for, against, but you fix a time, like 2 minutes should be fixed for each of the speeches, or 1 minute should be fixed for each. 1 minute is very less, fix it for 2 minutes, and you help them discuss. But once they have discussed and presented their view, they are not allowed to speak again and counter, because then it becomes an argument, or it becomes a charged discussion, which you don't want. Once you have done everything, all the discussions are done, you ask for a vote. It can be an anonymous vote if you feel it's going to be a sensitive subject. You don't want people to know each other's views. Ask for an anonymous vote on a Zoom poll, or ask for it on a Google form, whatever you want. And then you go forward with the decision. So this is for any decision that you feel that might be controversial. Now you can do a smaller scale of this experiment in the executive committee as well. If you feel the members are not invested, or it does not involve the members as a whole, things like we just expressed, the things like the treasurer not refunding the amount, what do you feel the club's stand should be on? Because then you want to have a discussion, you can have a for and against discussion. There was once a very interesting discussion we had in one of our clubs, where there were questions on privacy or questions on freedom of privacy, that is GDPR, where the sessions are getting recorded by default. So one person suggested the sessions should not get recorded by default. Another person suggested that the session should be recorded by default. If someone has an issue, we'll stop their recordings, or they have to explicitly say that they don't want to be recorded. So it was a very interesting discussion, but it very quickly snowballed into an argument because we are not following this Robert Rules of Order or whatever the main crux that I just said. If someone has already spoken, they are not allowed to speak again. They should be able to convey all their points before listening to the opponent. So that is the reason why it snowballed very, very quickly. But then later we understood the mistake and then we were able to solve it in a much better way. So this is just the basics of any discussion that you want to present. Okay, any questions on the business portion of the meeting? Okay, very good. Now let me go on again. Yeah, explain the meetings event. Generally, the Toastmaster of the day does it. I don't know why the transition is like this, but anyway. Now, during the club meetings, we make any announcements at the end. If there are, like, we have a TLI coming up, that was this TLI. If you had a meeting beforehand, you can announce that we are having a TLI. If you want to learn leadership skills, you should come and join. Adjourn the meeting, again, like you opened it. I declare the meeting closed, and then you close it. For the people to understand, okay, the meeting is over. Now you can chit chat. The official meeting is done. Outside of the club meeting is where the importance of your role comes in, because in the meeting, a lot of people, the VP Education does their role, Sergeant Downs passes the ballots, the Vice President Public Relations sends out the flyers, whatever it is. Outside of the club meeting, what is your primary responsibility? I tend to believe that out of all the responsibilities that you'll be seeing on the slide, one responsibility you should always keep in mind is, as a club president, your mission is to fulfill the club's mission, help the club fulfill its club's mission. Anybody knows what the club's mission is? Even if not in the exact words, what does it say? What do we provide as a club? We provide a
supportive and positive learning experience.
Yes. Supportive and positive learning experience. That is, I think there was a word that is experiential in nature. So we wanted people to learn by experience, and we want to help enable every member to do that. Anything else I'm missing in this mission? I can just Google it, but I want to see if
we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and learn skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth.
Correct. So communication skills is one important aspect of Toastmasters meeting, and the self-confidence and personal growth comes with the leadership skills that we learn in Toastmasters. So as a president, our first and primary objective should be to help enable that. That is our primary responsibility. Many people feel that as a club president, our primary responsibility is for the club to win the Golden Gavel or the Hall of Fame or be President Distinguished. And sometimes in that pursuit of those awards, they move away from what is actually their mission. Their motive of being the club president is to help enable member growth, help enable club growth so that the member grows, not club growth in isolation. Even if your club wins the Golden Gavel at the expense of the members and the members don't renew next term, the Golden Gavel has no meaning. So this is something that we have to be very clear on and understand where we lie in our decisions. At the end of the this session, I will have a few mini use cases that you will understand, case studies that you'll understand what I mean from these. So outside of the club meetings, the first and foremost, this thing happens twice a year. That is at the council meeting. So sorry, this is the area council meetings. It's not written here, but it's actually the area council meetings where you attend with the other club officers of the other clubs in your area, and you vote and you take important decisions. Just like you have an executive committee meeting, you have an area council meeting. And this is the annual business meeting. It's also called the district council meeting, where it happens every 6 months or twice a year, and you vote for the important decisions of the district, like selecting the next club growth director, district director, program quality director. Sometimes it is also to discuss the region alignment and other things. And you are free to present your views when the discussion phase ensues. Okay, we have 40 minutes to go. So we will take the next 10-15 minutes to finish off this presentation, and then we'll do the discussions. So you will see a lot of times that the best forum to understand how meetings should be moderated are the district council meetings, because there we have about 300-400 people and only one person is moderating the entire meeting. And you see the power of that person and the perseverance and the patience of that person, and you understand how to moderate a meeting of 6 people, 7 people. And you will never get into a out of control meeting if you understand how a district council meeting or a business annual meeting is held. So I request all of you to attend the next one. I think the next one will happen in May. So you should definitely learn from it and be a part of it. Appoint the audit committee. Now this audit committee is sometimes appointed by the club to oversee their club finances, their club operations, and the club proceedings that happen. And they are majorly people from outside the club, senior members from the district or the division or the area, who you want to appoint them to oversee these club proceedings. But the second one is what I want to emphasize a little bit more. Why I am emphasizing? Because the nominating committee is what decides who the next leadership or the next executive committee is going to be. Most of the clubs, the nominating committee is just the club president. If the club is not doing that well, there are not enough people to volunteer. This is the club president, but it has to be the club president's responsibility to ensure that the next executive committee is a strong one, is a capable one, or is a willing one. From whatever you can achieve, whatever you can get. And as soon as you resume office, today is January, I will not tell you to wait till June to decide or to discuss who is going to be the next executive committee. You should discuss right now, you should speak, you should motivate people, and you should constantly think. This is, I would say, 50% of your responsibility. Rest 50 is basically seeing the club operates or not. Because 1 week tenure of an executive committee can convert a strong club to a weak club. And I've seen it countless number of times, countless clubs where we were having people fighting to get in. There was a 3-month waiting period. There was a membership roster of 40 people, all 40 coming to the meetings, people standing regularly in the meetings and not getting slots to speak. Now they do not have any participants in contests. Now they do not have any members in the meetings. Everyone just comes and shuts down their video, and there are no posters, flyers, anything coming out. And probably the club will not continue in future. That also has happened. So that is just because one of the executive committees did not know their role, did not know what to do. So it's very, very important for us to be part of a nomination committee. So let me take a few minutes to discuss what a nomination committee does. So what I do is generally, I, as a chair of the nominating committee, would send out an invite for the people to send their nominations for the next role. But before even I send out the role, before even I send out the nominations for the role, I inform all the members by some way, either by doing a workshop or by speaking to them individually, or bringing them in for a session or a discussion. Inform them, explain to them what is there in that role, whatever they are targeting or whatever I feel that they should target, what is there in that role for them to learn. I inform them and I make it very clear that these are the responsibilities you're going to take. Once that is done, once I have enough nominations, or once I get the nominations by speaking to them or collecting them, I appoint a few people, 1 or 2 people. If it is too overwhelming for me, I appoint a few people to again speak to the members and detail each and every responsibility and role and the benefits that they are going to gain, the skills they are going to learn. So in a way, prepare them for this role coming forward, Also, I prepare them for the elections if there are any elections in a very fair way. So I do not take sides of any person, but I give them tips on how to prepare their speech, how to speak, what are the things they should cover, what are the things they should note down, and all of that together, I prime them for the elections, and then we hold the elections. Election procedure I'll not go into right now because it's there in the club leadership handbook. Anybody who does not know where the club leadership handbook is, I'll just Google and give you the link. Hold on. I'll put it on the chat. So the club leadership handbook is basically what I follow for the things that I am doubtful of, and what can be like things like what is the election procedure, or what could be the role of the president and the vice president education, and all those things. So you should also refer the club leadership handbook to the nomination people who have submitted their nominations. And once the elections are done, then you select them, you give them a training or give them whatever, tell them to attend the TLIs. And then your responsibility is partially over. Then you become the IPP and oversee their next executive committee meeting so that you ensure that the knowledge has been handed over properly. So this is the nominating committee part. I hope there are no questions on this. Anybody has any questions? Please raise them now. It's very important for us to understand the nominating committee. Okay, there are no questions, which is either very good or sorry. Anyone?
I have a question.
Yes, Vishwara.
Is that as a president, what is the help that I can look forward to from the IPP?
Ruddra, just one more thing. I had got dropped out in the middle of this particular point. If you could just give us a summary in one line.
Yeah. Vishwaraj, I'll answer your question. Let me just give a small recap. It might help everyone. First is inform, educate the club members about the roles of the executive committee in as much detail as you can. Or not just the roles, but the benefits that they are going to get from learning and doing those roles. Second is invite nominations, collect the nominations. Third is depending on the number of nominations, divide it among people so that they can prepare them for the nomination, the elections, or whatever it is, the discussions that are going to ensue, and help them be a part of the next executive committee in a very informed way. So I generally call it a discussion. In the case of district leaders, there is always an interview, even if it is for an elected position. Even for people who are getting elected, like division directors and club pro directors, program quality directors, they would take us, bring into a Zoom room and grill us for half an hour on various scenarios and talk to us about what will happen if you do this, what will happen if that happens, what are your roles, responsibilities, so that we get into the election fully aware that this is going to be our role next term. And we are going to learn and gain from it. This is also important. People will, it's all work and no gain, then people will not get into. So you have to be that. And then you prime them for the elections, help them prepare, and then go forward. Okay. So yes, Vishwaraj, your question was what help can I expect from the immediate past president? Immediate past president to me feels like a mentor to a club president. So like a mentor we have for our speeches, it's for I call my IPP, or whenever I was in another role, like I was in a division director role, I used to call the immediate past division director, asking them what do I do in this situation, present them the scenario, and they would give me advice. So I only seek advice and perspective because they know the club the best, because they just left the president's role before you. So they can give you the most targeted advice. You can always go for the area director for that, but still the area director many times is an external person, not part of the club. So that time the IPP can always help you. Okay, so now let's, I just wanted to give the link to the club leadership handbook. Hold on. Yeah, it's on the chat. You can also Google. So one thing I really like about Toastmasters is, Toastmasters website is, I can just Google on the website, on the Google and write club leadership handbook Toastmasters, and I get the exact link. So you can always do that for anything else that you want. So now let me share my screen once again for the last time, hopefully. And this, you received official correspondence from World Headquarters, which is very rare that it's going to be an FYA. It's always going to be FYI. especially I think giving proxies, handing over to the district director and all are there that you need to do. Schedule and chair executive committee meetings and develop and improve club leadership. These two are important, but I already covered most of it. So if you are chairing an executive committee meeting, you do the same thing that you do in an annual business meeting. You present the proposals, you ask other people to present their proposals, you take their views on what do you think the club can do better, or what do you think their role is and what their challenges they are facing. So it's a majorly a mentorship exercise, but also it's a facilitating exercise. So you're asking them, what do I do to help you? And these two things are in tandem. So you schedule and chair the executive committee meetings, and then in the chairing of the meeting, you facilitate the discussions and help them grow in that aspect. And similarly, you develop and improve the club leadership by helping them grow in their different aspects or different avenues. So here is something that I realized in these many years of leadership in Toastmasters. Toastmasters leadership is a servant leadership. And that servant leadership clause does not change at any point in our Toastmasters journey. Right from the club president till the international director, everyone is a servant leader. And by servant leader, it means that you are the servant. You are going to help people grow in their ways. You are going to help the club grow. The executive committee members are going to help the club grow. You are going to help grow the executive committee members and the club. So how do you do that? By empowering people to do their role. I'd like to take an example. I don't know if it's going to turn political, but I don't want to get into the political aspect, but rather the leadership aspect. So there are great leaders who have led millions of people. Let's say Mahatma Gandhi was one such leader. Netaji Subhash Bose was one leader, and there are leaders outside the country as well. And all those people were able to lead those millions of people because they were not authoritative leaders where they told people what to do. Maybe a boss can control 100 people by being authoritative, but they were inspirational leaders. They inspired, motivated people to fulfill what they wanted. Mahatma Gandhi said, you want to make the country free? I'm going to help you do that. This is how you do. So they're leading it, but they're not pushing their wishes or their views. So as a club president, I think it's important for us to not push our views or impose our restrictions on the executive committee members and help them grow by their own means. And of course, oversee club administration. Like there are some examples I already brought. That is a sergeant arms greeting guests. If they're not doing, help them out. Is the VP education maintaining the agenda? If they're not helping out, help them out. Is the treasurer making the finances or overseeing them? If they're not, help them out. How do you help them out? That varies from situation to situation. But first and foremost, understand your primary responsibility is to help them fulfill the club's mission. Provide a supportive and friendly environment, positive and supportive environment where people learn communication skills and learn self-confidence and leadership. So this is what you're going to target at every point. This is what I already discussed. We need to advance the club and membership achievement and interact effectively with other organization levels because they are going to always be there to help you. The area director, the division director, the fellow club officers of other clubs who are going to, maybe you can want to have a joint meetings and other things. You're going to oversee the executive committee and ensure the executive committee completes its duties. Now, why it's written here to ensure that the executive committee completes its duties, because if they don't, someone suffers. That's the members. Members get hampered. And I think the members, when they take up this role of the executive committee officer, they need to understand that their executive committee officer role or the privilege that they get also comes with the responsibilities that are critical, that are important. And every role in the executive committee has a particular importance. Sergeant at arms, if they don't send the invites on time, or if they don't open the meeting enthusiastically, then the entire meeting start is hampered. Or if the meeting invite is not sent on time, then the club meeting members don't know when to join. The treasurer, if they don't maintain the finances, they don't drive or lead the renewals, then the club may not have renewals. Now, many people take renewals lightly, but let me tell you, renewals is the only thing that saves the club. So if you do not have 8 payments, by the end of next month, nobody will want to pay for that month. So if you don't collect by maybe the 10th of April, Then on 11th or 15th, people will say, why am I paying from April? Let me pay from May. And like that, you do not get the enough renewals that are required for the club to sustain. If the secretary is not sending the minutes on time or not maintaining the club administration or not scheduling the executive committee meetings on time as per request of the president will get burdened. Now, it's not that nobody can else do their person's job, but the job has to be done. The VP membership, if they are not bringing in the memberships, healthy memberships, I will say healthy, not just payments, healthy memberships, members who are willing to take the club forward, members who want to learn and be part of the club, then the club's strength suffers. Then the VP education will not get roles. The president will not get the next committee, executive committee members. Nobody will get anything because there is always an attrition. People move out for some reason. So the VP membership's role is very critical. VP education, if they are not taking care of the educational needs of each and every member, they are not asking the members for roles, motivating them on time, then people will lose interest and drop out of the club. And finally, if the president is not looking at the higher upper level of each of those roles, if any of those roles fail, then the club goes down. So that's why the president is the contingency helping each and everyone, empower them for their roles. So these things are there, the ones that I'm going to share now. We need to create a club budget to understand what expenses are to be targeted. Create a club success plan. Now this is important for us because once we have a plan in mind that this is what we need to execute and all the people are in agreement, then people have a target that they want to go towards. And this target is what helps them succeed. So I feel personally a club success plan is a guideline that this is where we want to go. And using that to grow ourselves is what is important. Now the club success plan can be completed in two ways. So we all agree that, okay, we want the club to be president distinguished. These are the things that we want to do. These are the speeches we want to give. These are the roles we want to take, and we will motivate each other to grow. And the other part is president comes and says, I want the club to be president distinguished. And the EC member is saying, no, what? No, I'm telling you, you have to do it. And you have taken this role. Now you have to do it. Otherwise, I'll remove you from that role. So the next part is not healthy because then even if they continue for the 6 months and end, next 6 months, they will not want to volunteer for any role because they are not learning. It's feeling like a pressure. So understand where the balance is and understand what motivating versus imposing means. Strategizing the success in the Distinguished Club program, I think it comes in line with the club success plan. So if you have a club success plan that tells you where you want to go in the Distinguished Club program, then the rest of the DCP is easy to do as you complete the weekly milestones or the monthly milestones. Create and oversee other club committees. As I already said, the nomination committee is the most important committee, but you can also have an audit committee if you want the club members feel more safe by having an audit from an outside entity. That's okay. I mean, that's for the club to decide. Now, how to fulfill the primary responsibilities? This we have discussed in detail, but I'll just give a summary. How do you do it? By understanding what the primary motive of the club president is to fulfill the club's mission. When do you fulfill each and every need is based on the club, obviously. When you want to have a contest, when do you want to start the nomination process for the next tenure, when do you want to have an executive committee meeting, all those discussions, all these thoughts need to come from you and percolated to the other members if they do not come from them. So at least you should have that thought in your mind. When do we schedule our speeches or completion of the goals? Which awards do we target and when do we need to do those? All those things. Who are there to help you? Of course, the executive committee members are there to help you, the area director, the IQP to help you, give you advice. And what are the resources? Now, there are multiple resources. I'll take a few minutes at the end to talk about some resources that I have in mind. But mostly it is your club leadership handbook. It is the awards that the district has given or the programs that Toastmasters has given, the leadership programs. You can use that. So this we have already covered. Now, President's resources. Now, this is another case study that is very insightful when I think about it. It's in July. You started office. but you have a club that has a few inactive members. Maybe it's 5-6 inactive members in a roster of 20. So you have about 12 members who are active and 5-6 who are inactive in the club. Tried calling them. They said they don't find Toastmasters program interesting and they don't plan to continue in Toastmasters. So suppose this is in January and you see that the actual membership strength is not 18, but rather it's 12. Because those 6 members are not coming, they're not planning to continue, and they're not there at all in the meetings. What do you feel should be your next plan of action?
Hi, Ruddra.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, we have to make our meetings interactive, interesting, and uh, it should be consistent learning process so that the members or other guests also can get attracted to our club and become the member of it.
Yeah, but here this is a catch-22 problem because you don't have enough members to make an interesting or interactive meeting. You don't have enough role players to play because suppose there are 12 active members in your club, but of course at a time maybe in a week only 7 or 8 are available. So a question to another person. Of course, this is a good start, Vibha. Thank you for that answer. Anybody else would want to answer that in this catch-22, what do you do if you don't have enough people to have an interesting meeting?
So hi DTM Ruth.
Okay.
Yeah, Somo, you should go first. Last Kshitij next.
Okay. So I think we had this situation in our club where after moving to the online, we were having our sessions on Saturdays in the evenings. But once the lockdown eased, we saw that the number of members started falling. The attendance started falling, and then we had a discussion among our members, and the point that came out was they wanted the meetings in the mornings because they wanted the evenings for their own personal lives and stuff like that. So we changed that based on the poll from our members. So that is one thing which you can do. And in every club there would be certain members who are very dominant. So what we do in our club is that we have these birthday calls in a week, and the person might not be attending, but we call in a Zoom and we ensure that the person is there and everyone wishes, and we also tell that we are missing you. Why don't you get why don't we see more of you in the club?
You took a twofold approach. That is, first you change the timing so that it's more convenient to a few more people. You increase the count that way, and also you try to take the dormant members and make them active by bringing them, engaging them. So that's a good aspect. So now suppose based on your both those exercises, the session turnout changed from maybe 7 to 8, 9 like that, or 10 maybe. And you got 1 or 2 out of those 6 inactive members as active. So now your active member strength is, for example, 40. So what do you do next? My next question is, so Kshitij, you were giving a response. Would you like to take this?
Yeah, sure, DTM Ruddra. So in Virtue Masters Club, I'm not the president right now. I'm just here for the learning experience. Okay. So what the previous president did was since the meetings are virtual, all right. So what they did was create a series of WhatsApp groups by the name We Care, and those inactive members were given in charge of an active member who was a member of EC. So that particular member of EC, let's say if I am the secretary right now, so under me, I have few members with whom I have to actively call. I have to ask for their participation. I have to ask general things with them. So to increase some kind of interaction. So if each member of the EC does this, so the count will automatically increase.
Yeah, I think that falls into the category that Toastmaster Soma also said. You want to reach out to those inactive members and speak to them and get them up. So that's covered. Thanks for that approach as well. Good answer there. Next, may I request? I think Debarati, you had raised your hand. Do you want to take a go at it? Suppose your count is at 13 or 14. Yes. After that, after engaging with people and getting to speak with them, and you're having good sessions, but your count is still not enough for a DCP, qualifying for a DCP. What do you do next?
So, hi DTM Ruddra. This thing actually happened when in the previous tenure as well, when I was the president, and this time I'm the president again. So, what I did back then was I personally called them up, or I had a WhatsApp chat with them. Some of them who were not available of the call over the call. The first thing
No,
I
we
actually
are done with the reviving, because you have tried. For example, let me give you a scenario. You have tried everything to revive the rest of the inactive members. Now, whoever you could have revived, you have revived. Rest are beyond repair. So, what do you do next? Like to increase or to change the health of the club? What do you do next?
Yes, so again, next time what I did was I again had a talk and understood that what problem are you facing now currently? Those were the problems that you had previously. What are the problems that you face that you're facing now? So some of them told me that they're not finding Toastmasters interesting, the same response and all. The
Yeah.
next thing I did was we planned some interactive sessions. We had theme-based meetings. One meeting we had, it was a whole Bollywood theme-based. Everyone of us, we students, we dressed up and sat. And in that meeting, I found out that everyone turned up and everyone was super active. Like the way they're active, they were even more active than that. So I found that theme-based meetings were very helpful. And after that, I also did that. I called other role players from other clubs so that they can play the roles in a different way, make it more interesting. And after that, the people who were super inactive, they gained even if it's a bit of interest in the meetings, and they started
I think I
turning up
got your point.
and picking
Yes,
up
of
roles.
team-based meetings, more interesting meetings, and of
Team-based
course,
meetings and like yes, and calling role players from other clubs so that
calling
they can
role players.
entertain
Yeah,
them
if they see
from other
another
clubs.
person in
Yes.
a more experienced, yeah. Thanks, Debarati, for the tip.
And playing the roles in a different way. We
Yeah.
play in another way, and they have more experience, more
Correct,
other
correct.
knowledge.
So I think you've covered all three of us have covered in very good detail on how to revive. So that is important. Once we are done with the revival, we are done. Suppose we reach a certain extent, we do what Toastmasters Somo just bring, that get new members. How do you get more members and you feel that they will be there in the program? That is, I think, somewhat tied to few what others said, that once you're having engaging, interesting meetings, the guests that come to the meeting. So there are two aspects to it. Okay, getting members is first is you get the guests, then you convert the guests to memberships, and then you retain them. So it's basically VPPR, VP membership, VP education. You see why there are three VPs? Very important. Get the guests, VPPR, convert them to members, VP membership, and retain them by pursuing them and helping them stay in the program by engaging and keeping them interested by their understanding their requirements as a VP education. All three very, very important roles. That's why for all of us, whenever we are planning for the next term, ensure these three are very strong, because in this pandemic era, we don't get that type of a fun very often. So like Devarati said, we have a Bollywood meeting, but every week you can't do it. You have to get people who want to stay for the learning. So that's why it is important. So let me just share my screen again. So this is done. Yeah, we attend the district sponsors training program, which we are already doing. We read the materials, so read the club leadership handbook. Also, one more thing you can do is, which I rarely do, but if you want to, there's a club constitution. So this also you can Google and you'll find it. Club constitution and bylaws, the governing documents. If you are ever stuck, you can use that. But what I generally do is I just ask my area director, division director, or I speak to other people who are there in a certain situation. If it doesn't resolve, I write to Toastmaster International and get a response, or somebody might have written and got a response. There are rarely any things that I need to find out, but somebody else has not found out. If there's something else, we can go to the governing documents and then get to it. Meet the outgoing executive committee, understand their challenges, because they might have a lot of challenges that you may not know as a club president. So meet with them and understand what they want to convey. Meet with the outgoing president and keep meeting with them, because they are your immediate past president. They're going to help you at every walk of life. And meet with the current executive committee. Set the goals, set the context, help them, mentor them. So to summarize, role is as a president, you are the CEO of the club, you are the captain of the ship, you are the overseer of all functional aspects. What do you want to fulfill? You want to fulfill the club, help the club fulfill its mission. And what resources are there to help you? You have the area directors, you have the programs, you have the DCP awards, and you have the other clubs who are going to help you. Okay, so now some mini case studies. First one is you had targeted the club gets the President Distinguished Award, but the final member required to complete is short by one speech. But there is no session before the year end, so it's basically January 27th. Okay, I'll just take one or two responses because we are short on time. But VP Education suggests to mark the project completed and let the person complete it later. Anybody wants to give a response to this? What do you feel should be the right response? Yeah, Devarati, you have raised your hand before or you have raised it now?
Now, Ruddra.
Okay. So tell me.
So one thing that we can do is like two options. We can arrange for one extra meeting in our club before the session ends, or see which club has a speaker role empty. We can arrange for this speaker to give his or her speech in another club and thereby making it complete. But we never should do this like mark it as complete now and then let the speaker give later.
Yeah,
Two
that's
of
a
these
violation of the code of conduct. So
yes.
ethics
So
above all.
either of the two options.
Yeah, that's very wise, Devarati. So Gayatri, you have anything to add? Or there was what you wanted.
So yeah, this had happened with me, wherein two of my levels were claimed, two of my education awards were claimed, and I had not even started them. Following which I had to send an email to TI and they reversed those awards. Or sometimes members get confused about the projects in level 3. They think that they have done a project which they have not, and they just end up marking it complete. So I think as president, we just have to make sure that we remind VP Education to just kind of make sure that the speeches are done.
Great.
Make sure that it is like just overseeing, like we cannot interfere completely, but still making VP Education a little aware about, don't let that happen kind of a thing.
Yeah, the awareness is important. Thanks, Gayatri. Next question. A new member attends a few sessions in December. A new guest, sorry, it's not a member, it's a typo. Wants to join from January. VP membership stalls the potential member so that the club gets a member for Beat the Clock award in February. You guys know, I hope, what is Beat the Clock. And I hope I got the award correct. But it's from February to May, I think 2 or 3 months. And you need to add 5 members. So what if the VP membership wants that award for himself and stalls the guest? It's a real incident based on Somo is laughing. I think he has also experienced that. But I have also seen, not happening once, but many times. So what do you do in that case as a club president? What do you feel should be the right approach?
If he wants to join, he should be, joining. See, otherwise, he will feel that, he's still a guest. So again, ethics plays a very important role. There have been instances where the VP Education and the presidents have colluded and, has marked project completion, which is not actually the, the right way to do it. So it all comes to integrity actually. Yeah. And if a member wants to join, I think, what is your focus? And you mentioned it very clearly. Is it that you want to become the Golden Gavel Club, President Distinguished Club, or are you looking at actual growth for your members? Because that's going to have a very adverse effect on the member who wants to join. So I think to answer the question, he should be joining in January and not.
Correct. Yeah, but my question maybe to someone else also. That's a very good point. Thank you for bringing it up. But my question to you is, if the VP membership is thinking that I want this award for myself, what is the conversation you want to have with the VP membership that helps them understand the flaw, or what is the negative impact of the person not joining in January? Can someone tell me that? Anybody wants to have a go? I'll like ask Toastmaster Shomo to tell that. Okay, I see there's nobody. So what is the conversation you'd have with the VP membership?
I think I would tell the VP membership that you should induct this guest as a member from January, and maybe we could look at more members coming in. I mean,
I think that makes sense. You give them it's a win-win in that way. You'll get more members in Feb. And in January, if the person does not join, it could be the person gets frustrated and never joins.
Or joins other club.
Or join another club. That's in the even worse situation because the person is really interested.
Correct.
Okay, last question. Your club historically publishes a quiz on Fridays, which the Vice President Public Relations generally sends. The new VPPR does not see any value in it and discontinues it. What do you feel should be your reaction to it? This is the third scenario. So the newsletter being published every Friday, the new VP Public Relations discontinues it. Anyone else? Anyone? Yeah, okay. Only few people are answering. So I now have segregated the first benchers, the last benchers who are not there at all. So I don't even know if you are here. No worries. You'll get your attendance. So Devarati, yes, you have raised your hand. Tell me.
Yes, DTM Ruddra. So first point is I'll again ask that why are you not finding values? I'll ask for his or her input that why do you think that it is not interesting anymore? How do you think that we can bring in some value in that? I'll take inputs from it and try to improve that. I'll take his or her suggestions in mind. There is that. And if this is the first case, and if the second case is something like this, I have already talked with the VPPR and he discontinued for a while and then he started again discontinued. If this has been going for a while, then I might also consider another option, that is the secretary, because he or she is already familiar with publishing the MOMs and all, creating them. So maybe the secretary can also do that for a while, something like this. But first I'll talk with the VPPR. And
both are very good responses, Devarati, and wonderful. I thought of those two, and I think you are a better president than I, because it happened when I was a president. I got really angry at the Vice President Public Relations. But in hindsight, now I understand that why is the newsletter needed. Okay, we'll close in the next. I don't think it's over. But anyways, guys, thank you for being part of it. And both answers are very valid. If you guys need any questions, you still have any questions, please do ping me on WhatsApp or call me. I'll give you my number here. And all the best for your roles. Let's meet again whenever you have done with your roles and now immediate past presidents. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruddra.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruddra.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruddra.
We are just waiting. We are not even leaving the room. We are waiting for them to close.
Shortened it. It's not.
Actually,
11:33. So there are like 10 minutes left.